It is Sunday, May 21st, 2023. Buckle up and let's get ready to get this show started.
They counting this out. Just check the history, know that the system can't stop us. The paper they count came from the blood, sweat, and tears of our people. The pivot, scream greatness and shout. Hate our existence, but really, yet truly, we hold all the power, no route. Brace yourselves when we amount, cause we limitless. DNA royal, not menaces, know that we limitless. Brothers and sisters in arms, let the power be limitless. DNA royal, not menaces, know
This show represents the opinions of the host and his guests. The content here should not be taken solely as medical advice. This show is for informational purposes only. Please consult your healthcare provider or professional for additional information and follow-up.
My skin and the joy make them 1% matter. That fact that the matter. Open your eyes when you look at the mirror and see what I see.
Good afternoon / evening. What is up? It has been a while since we have been together. Thank you so much for joining in. My name is Thomas Davis, owner and founder of Move Mountains and Break Those Barriers. I want to say to you so much, thank you again for joining us on a Sunday afternoon. Yes, there is no basketball on. The Lakers, we're not going to talk about that. We're going to keep it moving, keep it positive. But I'm just so glad to be on, and especially with the dynamic panel that we have on tonight. It's no script. It is no run a show per se. We're just going to talk as brothers. And if you can do one or two things for us, like and share this broadcast, invite your friends, tag people in the comments, brothers, and to our viewing audience, please blow up our chat, give us feedback, ask us questions so we can make sure that this is a very interactive discussion on this evening. You can follow Limitless Possibilities on the following platforms. On Instagram, which is Limitless Outcomes. You can also follow us on YouTube, which is Limitless Possibilities LLC, Facebook, Limitless Possibilities, and LinkedIn, Thomas Davis LPC. And finally, Twitter, Limitless, the number 1, the number 4, the letter U. All right, y'all. I want to make sure that we have enough time to have a very fluid discussion. And I want to thank all of my brothers that are on tonight. Let us know where you are watching from. We want to see the comments. So please let us know where you are watching from so we can give you a shout out. And thank you for supporting us on tonight. All right. So we're going to get right started and just say this. This conversation is much needed. With everything that we are facing with in the world, it is nothing wrong with hearing from our brothers. Ladies, we got you coming up, but I wanted my brothers to really talk about how it is to not suffer in silence. What does it mean to come out of silence? And most of all, how do we move forward? How do we celebrate our accomplishments? And how do we continue to walk boldly and unapologetically with who we are? So without further ado, I want to bring on the first guest tonight. He hails all the way from the DMV, and I want to bring on no other than Brashawn Jenkins.
They counting this out. Just check the history, know that the system can't stop us. The paper they count.
Brashawn, what is going on, my brother?
What's going on, my dear brother, man? I feel like I'm behind the scenes going into the game, coach.
Bro, no, listen. I told you earlier. You told me not too long ago, when it's time to move, you got to move. And I want to say to you, I appreciate your encouragement. I appreciate your motivation, and I appreciate you being just simply who you are, man. I love you. I know I haven't seen you in forever, but ain't nothing changed. I love you to death.
Thank you.
Are you ready for tonight's discussion?
I'm ready for tonight. I'm ready to talk about these safe spaces. I'm here to talk about vulnerability. We're going to talk about the why and what and the who, and hopefully our panel, my brothers on the panel, will start talking about the better places to be able to put our vulnerabilities.
Love that. Thank you so much. We're going to also bring on all the way from the West Coast, Mr. John Rawlins. Come on in, John.
They counting this out. Just check the history, know that the system can't stop us, the paper they count.
What's up, John? What's up?
Happening. Now you got to remember, in the West Coast from the DMV, I don't want the people to think I done, let the DMV go. That's still always going to be home. But,
yes. So listen, to all of our viewing audiences, John has been on the show many times, but some of you all may not recognize who he is because he done made some transformations. Look at that brother right there. That brother looking good there.
The locks are gone. Yeah, the locks are gone for now. They literally sit right here. Yeah, a little change.
Mine's at home too. Mine's at home too. Got it. All right, let's bring on our next dynamic guest. His name is Mr. Leach. Come on in, Justin.
They counting this out. Just check the history. Know that the system can't stop us. The paper they count.
What up, Jay? What's going on?
What's going on, man? Long time no see.
Long time no see. How you been?
Been all right. I've been good so far.
Good to see you. Good to see you. Congratulations. You got some good news, and I'm gonna let you share it when you're ready. But congratulations again, brother.
All right, appreciate it.
All right, let's bring on Mr. Sean. I'm sorry, Mr. Damil. Sorry about that. What's up, brother Betts? Come on in.
They counting this out. Just check the history. Know that the system can't stop us. The paper.
Betts, what's up?
What's going on? I think that you just go ahead to switch it because it's just so used to the original name. So I get it. What's going on?
I apologize.
No.
There is a comment in the chat that I want to bring up real quick. Thank you, Mr. Gordine. He says, glad to see this topic pop up. I am unable to fully attend, but looking forward to the follow-up and potentially being part of a future conversation. Yes, sir. You will definitely be a part of the future conversations. Thank you so much, though, for watching, bro, and be safe. How you doing, Damil?
I'm good, man. Life is good.
Are you ready for this conversation tonight? Because we ain't have no filters tonight. No cap.
Listen, that's the best kind of conversations to have. I'm ready for them.
All right.
I don't have a filter.
All right, let's do this. All right, Herb. Come on in, Herb.
They counting this out. Just check the history. Know that the system can't stop us. The paper they count.
What's up, Herb? Coach Frey.
What's going on, y'all? What's happening? What's up, fellas?
Good with it.
Y'all good? Y'all ready for tonight?
Absolutely. Yes, sir.
All right. And let's bring on Mr. Terrence. Come on in, Terrence.
They counting this out. Just check the history. Know that the system can't stop us. The paper.
Hey, what's going on, y'all?
What's up, y'all? What's up, T? We got a full house tonight, y'all. We have a full house, and I wanted to make sure that we have perspectives from every viewpoint. So I wanted to have a very diverse team on tonight, and I want us to really have a conversation. I'm not even acting as host tonight. I'm going to join in the conversation with everyone tonight so we can all have a fluid conversation. We cut the script, we cut everything because this topic is important. How do we as men walk in this life that is called life? How do we deal with some of the things that we are dealing with? And I'm not always talking about nothing negative, y'all. Sometimes things are happening good in our life, and we don't even know how to accept those good things. We don't even know where to begin. So when someone gives us a compliment, we're like, what? What's that? And so we want to be able to help everybody on tonight, but more specifically, our men move forward and live that life. All right, y'all. Y'all ready?
Let's do it.
All right, so let's go. So the first thing that I do want us to talk about is this. Being a person, being a man, being an individual, just being simply YOU comes with some rewards, some celebrations, and all of those things. And I want to ask this particular question to Brashawn. Brashawn, what has been the best thing that has happened to you in the last year? What has been one of the most important things that has happened to you this last year?
I killed the imposter. I stopped acting like everything and every part of me was okay when it wasn't okay. I think that I fell victim to, like so many of us fall victim to, and that is always acting like you're okay and everything is going great and putting on this great facade. But there's a great thing that that I did for myself last year before last, following a breakup, and that was, I checked in with a therapist, and myself and my therapist made goals for myself. One of the things that rather transparently is I pastor a church. So I just want to let everybody know that you gotta that you need more than just being proud of your spiritual practices. You gotta couple that with some other things so that you can be well-rounded. And I found out that I wasn't well-rounded. So then once I went and started looking at myself a lot more holistically, then I could start asking myself, what do I really want? Not what do other people want for me, but what do I really want? Before I hand it off, I just wanted to reference the fact that there's this amazing book that just goes along with what we're talking about tonight, and that is called The Black Tax by Sean Rochester, where it talks about being Black comes with another layer of disparity, another layer of how we do things. And so as Black men, we understand that we're more susceptible to disease, we're more susceptible to stress-related things, just being Black. And on top of that, our Black wealth is not the same as our white counterparts. Our families are looking per capita at $45,000 in our families conversely to white wealth, which is 175,000. So how do we expect to be okay when the things that surround us make us not to be okay?
That's a question that I want someone to answer in the chat. If you're watching, and if you can, how can we learn to become okay when we are faced with things that are happening within our lives? Bashan, that is a phenomenal opening. Thank you so much. I want to go to you, Damil. And the reason why I'm coming to you with this question is because I've had an opportunity to observe you. I've seen your growth. I've seen your progress. I've seen your accomplishments. I have listened to the clip that you sent me the other day. As we are thinking about successes, right? And the reason why I'm starting with the positive, if you guys notice, I started with something positive because we are always hearing something negative. We ain't doing this as a man. You ain't this. You should do this. But why do you think about this? So the thing that I want us to really start off the show is by talking about some of the celebrations that we typically don't celebrate ourselves on. Damil, talk to us.
Whew. So let me get this straight. You want me to talk about what has been
whatever's on your mind? What is one been your greatest accomplishments?
Whew, that's too many to start. I'll say outside of meeting the love of my life, I'll say working on myself and accepting the fact that I'm okay to not be okay, and how to do that and accept it, right? Like a lot of times we fall into this notion of like we can't accept love. We can give it, like we can totally give it and be there, be the provider and the protector, but it's like when we need it, it's kind of like it's only supposed to come from our bros or like other men being like vulnerable with other men. So I think one of my biggest accomplishments, like I said, outside of me, the love of my life, and you know, I think it is honestly just being okay with voicing what I need, right? Like, and that may be an affection, that may be a hug, that may be just reassurance, and that is very hard to do, especially when this whole idea of masculinity is so fragile that it determines whether it is you ask for a hug or you're not a man. It's like that's actually very not accurate.
Love it. Thank you so much. Thank you. Now, this next question is going to go to the reason why that we're here on tonight. The title of the show tonight is Coming Out of Silence. Being able to walk boldly in who we are and addressing some of those particular things that we deal with. Before I go to Terrence and I go to John, And I want you all to think about this question. And the question is, when I propose this segment to you guys tonight, coming out of silence, waking up, being able to talk about those things, what resonated with you? While you all are thinking about their question, I want to start with myself. I think a lot of times people say, well, Thomas, you on the show, you do this, but who are you? I'm going to say this publicly. For a while, there was some opportunities and gifts that I felt that I had within myself. But I allowed fear. I allowed past hurt. I allowed the fact that I felt like I didn't meet the part, look the part, dress the part, keep me from where I knew I wanted to go and be. But there was something that came to me one night, and something said to me, when it's time to move, Brashawn, this is no lie. You got to make that move. And there was an opportunity for me to think about, how can I tell somebody else that's listening on tonight that has been in my office for sessions, what are some of the things that you could tell them? And the biggest thing is, brothers, how can I be a therapist and empower other people, and I don't take those same interventions and empower myself? Just like I tell my clients I need to take a risk and tell them to take a risk, I had to do the same thing. And accomplishments and things have come my way that has been amazing. So the first tip that I'm going to say to anyone that's watching tonight is stop limiting yourself. Whatever your dream, whatever your vision is, whatever your passion is, write it on a piece of paper. Believe it, dream it. If you want that relationship, it's yours. If you want that job, go get it. If you want that next elevation, if you want a family, go do it. But the question that I want to ask you, John, first, then I'm going to go to Terrence. As I propose this question to you, what came to your mind?
I mean, first, breaking silence, there has to be an acknowledgement, right? One, that you're worth the focus and the attention. Again, a lot of times we're so caught up with, making sure that everybody else is okay and giving ourselves the least amount of time and space to process what we need to experience what we need to, and really to give us that space to do it. So I think for me, the first thing that came to mind was the acknowledgement, but also understanding that where we are in society now, I believe there are a lot more efforts that are not only helping us to get some of that space, but are giving us the language to be able to speak about these issues. And so for me, breaking the silence is also acknowledging, like, I can get rid of the excuses now, because it's now time for me to focus in. It's now time for me to acknowledge that I need to be whole. And what does that look like? I do not have to continue to go throughout life kind of just existing without being whole, right? Or existing partially and trying to pour from a half empty glass or an empty cup, period. So those were the first things that came to my mind, really, that acknowledgement and understanding, like, it's time for us to be able to move into that space where we understand we are worth the time, we're worth the effort and the energy to be whole.
Love that. Thank you. I'm gonna flip it real quick. Herman, I'm gonna come to you. Coming out of silence means what to you?
Coming out of silence. So, after hearing, some of your thoughts and stuff, one idea usually makes another idea come in. For me, it's giving grace to myself. Like, as of recently, I became an athletic director at Inner City Public School. But one of my biggest accomplishments also is that I'm a therapist. And when the students find out, that's not something I necessarily brag about myself. For what reason, I don't even necessarily know. But representation matters. So when I think of, like, coming out of silence, like, thank you, Thomas, for what you do and giving us this platform to see us as Black men. Seeing us as Black men, like, the world needs to see educated Black men. They need to see articulate Black men. They need to know that we're worth it. They need to hear us talk positive and bring positive light. And by doing so, it vicariously, in my head, shows someone else that it's okay to be themselves.
Love that.
That's acknowledging, and then, humanizing yourself, man. Give yourself some grace.
Love that. Justin, do you think we as brothers, we as men, we as people, do you think that we suffer in silence?
And we suffer in silence every day sometimes. I mean, because we're built to internalize a lot. You know what I mean? And I know I'm very guilty of that because I still do it to this day. You know what I mean? I've learned to, even growing up, I learned to, you know, whatever situation might take place, I'm like, okay, it happened. I'll internalize it and then I just move on. Because I feel like me sitting here crying about it or sobbing over it's not going to get anything done. So I feel as though that we walk in that silence of internalization and then we end up lashing out once we have had enough. You know what I mean? Because it's like a cup, a glass full of water. It's only going to get full, but so much, and then after that, it's going to overflow.
Right.
That's
right.
the question.
You know, it's a disaster. It's a big mess. So I think that one thing I know for myself is I've accepted the fact that you can't internalize everything that happens. It's okay to show emotion. I've learned that I suffer from anxiety sometimes. You know what I mean? And I'll have those attacks. I've had a couple. You know what I mean? I'm gonna just be real with you right now, and a lot of people don't know this. I literally had a mental breakdown back in March. You know, never had that before. Never had it happen. It was an experience that I don't wish on my worst enemy. You know, but it was just a lot of things that just built up in me, and I tried so hard to internalize it, and I was just like, it'll be okay, it'll be fine. You know, I'll take care of it, but. It's just that Monday morning, I just couldn't get it together, and it finally it came out, you know. But I will say that it was kind of the greatest thing that ever happened to me because it finally made me realize, like, I'm not.
For sure.
Can I say this to you, Justin? Like, what you just did is going to help someone that is watching this show now or watching the replay. You modeled what the topic of this show is. Just imagine if many of us just come out and just say, you know what, I'm not okay. There has been some times in my life that I just did not know what to do. And I had feelings and emotions. And so I just want to say to you, thank you for your bravery. Thank you for your transparency, because this is what we need to do, brothers. We need to start letting other people know that they're not alone. Because sometimes they see us, they think that we have it all together. But in reality, sometimes we just need an extra hug. We need an extra fist pump. We need an extra go to the bar and have a conversation. And if you know that you can't handle a drink, go get a sip of water. So I just want to say to you, man, I appreciate you for this, because this is why I want us to have the conversation. Because so many people see us, but they have to realize that we are human, just like them. Terrence, I need you to come on as my other therapist, because we have LPCs and therapists on the line that are men. And Justin said something and John said something that I think is very key. And actually Herman said this. We see our young black boys that's out here in the street, and they don't know that they can come and talk to Thomas. Thomas is somebody that can come and talk to you and get you on track. So Terrence, as we are talking about this, what came to your mind?
Well, what came to my mind, as far as like the overall general question is, I feel as though like it's been like it's kind of a silent epidemic, because for the longest time we've had to kind of instill or kind of model a sense of resilience, either from watching, or from a vicarious sense of like resiliency. And with that, it becomes like kind of foreign to actually be in tune with one's emotions. And so like part of it is that, especially as like young black men, like it's not too many people that you could really go to, or, there was a time like in the past where if you tried to, you would likely get ridiculed or shunned for it. Like,
right.
Depending, like if you like, say for example, if you were at school and you was talking about maybe somebody broke up with you, like we were dating at the time, and like oh dude, you soft, like you don't be crying over no chick. But sometimes like those things like can like leave a mark on us. Like, yeah, it might be like, it might seem kind of minuscule or mute to talk about, to some people, but these things do have an effect on like our emotional state or even our mental state sometimes too,
Right.
But as far as why I feel like the conversation over, it's been underrated because I think like we're learning to kind of see past like a certain fear aspect of it, because at the end of the day, like I said before, we kind of rely on our own sense of resiliency as either comfort or as a way of like kind of moving past situations that take some emotional processing to be able to truly heal from. And so with that, I like the fact that not only like you have like this platform to kind of open the door for topics like these and be able to show like showcase other fellow like colleagues who are like African American men in the mental health profession, to show that people that look like us can or have people they can reach out to that that can more than likely understand where they're coming from, which is kind of like a barrier in and of itself when it comes to Black men seeking like mental health like services.
Right.
And so I think you asked another question about the greatest accomplishments
that
each of us has had.
Yes, sir.
Well, I can say that like being the first in my family to graduate from college, being one of the first to obtain a master's degree in grad school, getting engaged and becoming a man of Alpha Phi Alpha. Like there's quite a few, and so I ain't gonna lie, with each of those accomplishments, like I wanted the world to know like that a Black man like accomplished something like that, or that at least like for the young up and coming generations that they can't, which is why. That actually reminds me. Like I did a career day a couple of weeks ago, and I spoke on like our profession, and I think I was so caught up in the moment I didn't really talk too much about like when you're on career day, as a kid you may or may not be too interested in the topic, but other than like how much does it pay, because that's your aspirations as kids, like when you try to grow up and be a big kid. But I talked about it, and there's a part where I talked about why I got into it, and I mentioned like I love like seeing people prosper, like especially people of color. They take a step into building awareness about not only like their mental state, but some of like the past like traumas they might have experienced and may not have fully healed or like resolved from. Sorry, but overall, like but it's something more profound when it's other Black people, and it's not to not shutting any other culture out, but it's almost like an inherent duty bound sense to be that instrumental change to people of color when they're taking that step, because the fact that that is a feat for us in and of itself, it kind of is a spur of inspiration and motivation to kind of do what I can as a professional to see that they help reach like their sense of self-determination.
Love it. Thank you so much for sharing it, and thank you for being a part of this great discussion, man. I want to pivot real quick, and I want to bring these two people on screen with me. I want to bring on Rashawn, and I want to bring on Damil for this question. One of the things that I feel that we get, myself included, if it ain't broke, don't what?
Fix it.
Don't fix it. Right. And let's talk about habits. Woo!
Ooh, Lord.
As brothers, and before we do that, there are some comments in the chat that I do want to acknowledge again. Thank you, Mr. Nickens. He says, grace, speaking my mind, understanding who I am, and knowing that I have value. Thank you so much, Mr. Nickens. And thank you so much, Miss Bernice Davis, by saying, yes, so true. If you have any comments or feedback, blow us up in the chat. But let's talk about habits. Thomas L. Davis had a habit. And the habit that Thomas L. Davis had was I was complacent. I was comfortable. I felt safe. It was predictable. I felt secure. But in the reality, I wasn't safe. I was just there because I knew it was the norm. There are so many of us sometimes that find ourselves in situations because it's easy to stay there. And we know that it's not a good habit, but we stay there because of comfort. Rashawn and Damil talk to us. I'm going to start with Rashawn.
When it all falls down. You know, our brother talked about his moment of emotional weakness. I had a midlife crisis are real. I'm 3 years from 50. And I started realizing that some things, some places, some spaces that I was in, some things that I was doing was contributing to my own victimization. I'm quoting co-pastor there. And the thing that we always one of the things that I realized was that there were ways that I thought that continued to make me a victim. I am a people pleaser in rehab, and I started realizing that I was so busy making sure that everybody was good, and then I wasn't good, and I was so busy. And when I got into relationships, I started attracting the same person with a different face. So a lot of that had to do with mindsets, ways that I thought, unhealed trauma, all of these things. And I think that when we start talking about Black men in mental health, and that is a lot of times, for me, can't speak for anybody but for me, I had to start dealing with my own issues. I had to start dealing with my own trauma, and it wasn't necessarily something that my parents did or didn't do, but it was how I perceived some of the things that I have experienced that may have caused me to think and to be in a certain place, in a certain space. As you keep talking about habits, you show me your goals. When you show me your goals, I can see your habits. If you show me what you value, I want to see the boundaries that you have put around it to protect it. So, so I think that one of the things, and the greatest thing that I did for myself once I decided that things needed to change, I started isolating myself from folk who were continuing to keep me in a victimized place, because imposter syndrome is real. But you grow in community. But you got to make sure that those who are in and around you are reflect the places where you're going to go. You show me your friends, I can show you who you are. And at 45, 2 years ago, I had to make a decision. You know what? I'm not crying over this no more. You know what? You're not going to talk to me crazy like that. I have a problem with my job right now because I'm teaching people how to treat me. And if that means that I don't get certain things, then that's fine. I'm ready to be an entrepreneur anyway, and full time. But you have to start creating boundaries, and the biggest boundaries that you create are the ones you put in and around yourself.
That's right.
You are your greatest asset. There is nothing wrong with saying, I'm so sorry. And you don't have to be mean when you correct people. See, that's what I thought. Because, I worked in Baltimore for a while. So, when things get heated, we just flip over tables and stuff. But you ain't got to do that. You can just say, hey, friend, I don't, no. We're not going to do that today. You're not going to talk to me like that. I don't like the tone. I don't like how you're conversing with me. You can find ways to give people feedback without becoming the Tasmanian devil. And I did not know how to get people off me other than to be the Tasmanian devil. I'm gonna be quiet. But you gotta create boundaries because people don't have none and they will run over you. And quoting Zora Neale Hurston, if you're silent about your pain, they will kill you and say you deserved it.
Bets. I ain't gonna say a word.
First of all, listen, y'all. I gotta follow that on this lovely Sunday. Listen to me. All right, now you don't look nowhere near 50. That's one.
Right.
But so right, like there's a lot within that and unpack, and I'm gonna say some things on that too. But one of the bad habits, I'll start with my bad habit. One of my bad habits, I was an extreme people pleaser because I was trying to always chase the love of a non-affectionate mother. and then it came out with me just searching and trying to please everybody and take care of everybody. And then my other bad habit was, I was a huge self-sabotager. Like I would literally talk myself out of it because I fell into the thing of like, I've never seen no one around me do this, so it couldn't be me. Or I've never seen anyone like me do this, so it couldn't be me. Or I would get into the mentality of why me? There's so many other people of that deserve it or get into these things. And for specifically Davis, who knew me as a young man, I was in my stages of my bad habits where I knew it all. I thought I knew it and nobody could tell me anything. And then it was like, okay, cool. And then I would get upset where people would like leave me alone. And it'll be like, well, you know it all. We can't teach you anything. So the moment, one of my favorite quotes is, the moment that you say, I know, is the moment you tell the universe you have no need for anybody to help you because you know it all. So what are we telling you, right? I think the boundaries piece, I just spoke on that last week on a podcast. The boundary is, right? So I stopped blaming everybody else and I started blaming myself. And once I started blaming myself, it opened my eyes up to everything because people only did what I allowed them to do. They only treated me what I allowed them to do. You talk to me crazy because I allowed you to do it. I have a rule now where you're not about to stress me out in my house on my phone. If you don't pick, you're not about to stress me out. Absolutely not, right? Like,
yes.
And then I had to think about it. Like, I was so used to being the oldest sibling and the oldest child. So I was always used to protecting. Nobody protected me. And then I got to the point where I built me a community that would protect me when I couldn't protect myself. And it was like, hey, you're not doing that. Or, hey, he's not doing that. Or, hey, we're not going for that. You need to rest or you need to do these things. And I think establishing the community that you need is extremely important because we go through this life thinking we could do it all by ourselves because that's what we were taught. When actuality, you can't, right? Like I had that recollection when I had surgery. I was bedridden and my mind was like, no, you can't pick yourself up. Right. You actually can't do it all by yourself. Right. And then from that moment on, I was like, oh no, I don't want any of this by myself. Like I want help with everything. I'm accepting all help. I'm asking for help. I'm reaching for help. Is it easy? Absolutely not. Right. Like it's not easy to admit that, hey, I need help or hey, I would like to learn differently. So it's a battle between familiarity and like unhealthy habits going into like healthy habits and like unknown zones. And it's like, oh, it's familiar. I want to go here. Like, and it's like, nah. So it's like literally, I'll leave with this analogy, right? If you find yourself like wanting to leave and wanting to go to a new environment, please go. If it's a person, if it's one thing I learned is like you will only get like 2 or 3 people ever in your life that will literally love you unconditionally through any habit. Now, if they stay, that's up to you. But I always say you can't blame the flower for not growing in the soil if it's bad soil. Move the flower. And a lot of us we have to think of ourselves as flower. If you place yourself in an environment that is not growing as you, then you're never going to grow because it's your environment. You have to think about, something I did was I thought about what do I want to be and who do I want to be? And that's the person I want to be. I'm a husband. I'm a father. So I want to be that and I am that. Then I have to be around people who are going to teach me and show me and keep me on that track. I can't be around single men. We don't got nothing in common and you're going to do things that I don't agree with. I can't be around men who think masculinity is, oh yeah, I'm tough and I don't do. No, I express my feelings and I say what I want to say. And I say, hey, you hurt my feelings or you make me feel uncomfortable. After I tell you how you make me feel uncomfortable and you still continue to do the things, I'm not going to get back with you. I'm going to keep going on to my own because one thing I learned is I'm not matching energy. I'm not, because that's not who I am. If you are rude and you are ignorant and you're doing those things, I'm not matching you because you're going to take me out of my character. That's messing up my discipline. I'm going to just simply leave you where you're at and I'm going to go be around some love, some healthiness, and I'm going to reach out for that area. So
thank you. Yo, my phone is blowing up in text messages. The people that are watching are giving you guys shout outs. So we're going to do this in two. So my next 2 is John and Herm. And my next 2 would be Terrence and Justin. Before we go there, I do want to ask a question in the chat. Damil said you can't be connected to things that don't align with where you're going and who you are. So the question that I want to jump in the chat and ask is, who are you aligning yourself with? Next question, then we're going to talk about John and Herm. Come on with me, John and Herm. We were talking about habits. Now let's talk about mental discipline and how it is important for us to keep focus and have discipline. I'm going to start with John. Talk to us, John.
I mean, that's everything, right? For me, thinking about discipline is what gets you, gets you in line to go meet a goal, right? Gets you in line to focus on your future. Without discipline, you are here, there, and everywhere. It's easy for someone else to bring something up to you to get you off track, right? The whole thing about squirrel, right? Going into another direction. It's easy when you're not disciplined to do something. You can be interrupted. You can even forget or forego a goal or an aspiration or a dream if you don't have discipline, right? Because it's easy for anything else to become a distraction. Things that look good, things that smell good, things that sound good, right? Those things can come into your way. But when you are disciplined, you understand, one, how to focus, right? You also understand how to, when it's possible for when things try to come in your way, you are strategic enough to say, all right, I may need to address this in this way, right? I may need to make this pivot because this pivot makes sense to my goal. This pivot makes sense to what I'm trying to get to, but it's not going to get me off course, right? And that mental focus, I'll say for me, has been so very important. When I moved here in 2019, I was ready, and Thomas, we might have talked about this before. As someone who has been a musician and a singer for all his life, I was ready to let it go. I was like, okay, I'm good. I'm moving to a whole different coast. They don't know me here. They don't know anything that I've done before. I didn't know anybody moving to San Diego, and I said I could just be done with it, right? I truly believe that God was like, no, that's not what I'm allowing for your life, right? But what I've been able to experience over here is the focus to say, all right, what is it that I'm supposed to do? And growing the discipline to be able to do it in a way that is not stressful, that is not defeating, right? We go back to what you all were talking about earlier about aligning yourself with individuals who are part of that, who are a reflection of what you want to be and where you're supposed to be. Literally has happened in the last 3.5, 4 years for me, right? Being in and around people who I can learn from and can glean from. I was in situations where I can learn a little bit here and there, but I couldn't learn much because everybody saw me as the epitome of, right? Or they saw me as the one that had all the information, all the knowledge, all the experience. I was like, no. I like to be in environments where I can learn, right? If you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room, right? If you are the smartest person or the person with all the experience in the room, you got to switch rooms, right? So even going back to what you said, that to move and get into a new space, move, do it, and do it fearlessly. Right, because you never know what's on the. I promise you, all I did was come here and say, all right, I'm gonna be back into my higher education career, and that's where my focus is. And these 4 years, yeah, I'm still in my higher education career. I'm doing well in that, and I appreciate God for that. But I'm also in a place, in a space where so many other things, so many other aspects of who I am have come together and aligned in a way that have allowed me to say, okay, God, I see you. I see what you're trying to do, and I got you. So we're going to do this in a way with that discipline, right? We're going to do this in a way that makes sense. We're going to do this in a way that also allows me to not be fearful of new opportunities and also allow me to be exactly who I am and not, get caught up in that imposter syndrome that we talked about earlier, right? I know who I am. I'm confident in who I am. I'm confident in what I bring to the table. And that's how we're going to move in that direction. So that mental focus is important. That discipline, I have discipline. You're going to struggle because you don't have the roadmap. You don't have the focus to stay on that roadmap.
I love that. Herm, Herm.
Yes,
We
sir.
talk about mental focus and we talk about discipline. What resonates with you?
So when I think of mental focus and discipline, right? And just like hearing all you guys like speak on some of your experiences and whatnot, it took me back to high school, right? One of my greatest qualities, I got a good friend, he might be watching, right? He think I'm just smart, he just think I'm just that guy, right? But this dude straight up brilliant. I'm not gonna say his name. Dude straight up brilliant. And I tell him often, bro, the only difference between me and you is my discipline. I graduated high school, this in full transparency. I graduated high school with a 1.97 cumulative GPA. I now sit as an AD and as a mental health therapist. All because of just the mental focus, the work ethic, and the discipline. And to John's point, I always try to position myself around, if not smarter people that's more experienced than me. Like Thomas, I look up to you. Like you, like I eventually when I had my own mental health company and et cetera, you know. So just like that's what resonated with me. But I also want to go back to like the bad habits topic. When I thought about just the bad habits, and you know, one idea bounced to another, man. One of my bad habits, I just want to speak in full transparency, is I regress when I'm stressed. But I had to figure that part out about myself though. Like when I'm stressed,
wait a minute.
I realize I'm tripping. I'm in my head. I start hanging outside again. I'm back. You know, I'm just doing all the things that's probably on some self-sabotaging type time. And then what is going back to what my man said, like us as Black men, we suppress a lot. And I try to work with my clients to talk about like suppression and repression. And I do it myself though. And some part of me feel like I got to. You know what I mean? Part of me feel like I got to. Because of certain past traumas and Damil said something I wanted to ask, I guess collectively, if y'all ever heard the term parentification before.
Parentification?
Parentification, man. Look it up though, because when you said it, it resonated something inside of me. So recently, I found that I got parentification trauma. And parentification in layman's terms is like kids, I'm an oldest too, kids who have to grow up faster than when they have to. You know what I'm saying? Like you put in adult situations and you don't even got the mental capacity to kind of to think and move like that. It make you better for it though. Like, you know, you seem like a emotionally mature and intelligent person. It makes you better for it, but it is traumatizing. And us as Black folks and brown folks too. Like I work with a lot of Latino students. You know, we gotta work, we gotta pay bills, we gotta do certain stuff just to survive in our community. You know what I'm saying? Which goes back to why I say representation matters. But I just wanted to add them 2 cents on mental focus, discipline, and bad habits.
I love that. And I'm gonna tell you what made me pop up when you said we regress when we stress.
Yeah,
everybody on here has regressed. People that are watching have regressed.
Yeah,
don't get it twisted. We all do it. All right, Terrence and Justin. Y'all, this conversation tonight is fire. I'm literally sitting here in my office down here on K Street. Sorry to my sweet mates if I'm loud, but I'm just excited. This is a dynamic conversation, and I thank you all. But Terrence and Justin, I want to talk about this with you both because you both are engaged, and I look up to you. You will understand why one day. Relationships and complacency. When do we know when it's time to make a move? And when do we know that we have to get unstuck in stuck situations? Yes, Justin.
So, you find that out once you feel yourself going through a routine every day with the same person. Now, with the person that I'm with, I've been with her since 2006. I've been married to her going on, it'll be 7 years this September. You know what I mean? It's I'm not gonna say it's easy, but it's not hard either. You learn from each other, and when you understand that, when you get to a point where you feel as though I'm starting to feel complacent, then that's when we gotta sit down and talk about like what is the problem, like why are we feeling this way? I think a lot of times, as far as like, especially men in relationships, we're not going to say that because we feel as though, well, I got somebody, so I'm cool. You know, I'll just stick it out till something happens. You know what I'm saying? You can't be that way. at some point you're gonna have to sit down and say, hey, look, something doesn't feel right, and we need to fix it, or else we need to figure out what other arrangements we need to make.
Right.
I would just say that for if you're engaged, married, just look at it as you're getting to know your person every single day.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end of the day, you're still choosing whether or not you still want to be.
Love it. Talk to us, Terrence. Talk to us.
Man, how am I supposed to follow that? But that was well articulated, and I do agree with a lot of what he said, because at the end of the day, there's no such thing as a comfort zone in relationships. Like, the instant that you feel that you're comfortable, that's when you need to reevaluate how it's going. Mm-hmm. And so a lot of times, like, and I've done this with couples that I've worked with, and this very topic comes up, where, they think they mistake not arguing as peace, or that things are going well or going good. Mm-hmm. And I'm not to say that, arguing is a healthy sign, but how are you growing together? Like, how are you coming together to be able to, identify what is keeping you in this routine, or what is adding, contributing to the overall dysfunction in the relationship? Like, how are you communicating with each other? Like, are you a passive communicator? Are you passive aggressive? Are you more aggressive than the other? Mm-hmm. And so, kind of identifying those certain factors, and seeing like what keeps them in that same pattern, like that same routine, and kind of working through, or kind of taking a solution focus based on how to break out of those certain things. That way, because a lot of times, like, a lull, like, people get comfort in lulls in relationships. And how my brother mentioned before me said, like, sometimes, like, like, what are you learning? Like, when you're because like every day you're with a person, you're choosing that person. Mm-hmm. So how are you learning and how are you growing with that person too is important. Not just what y'all have in common, not just, the good memories that you might post on like Facebook or IG, but what are you doing behind the scenes? Like, are you having like those difficult conversations? Are you, being able to check your own ego and say, you know what? I mean, I fully agree, but I do see that it's affecting you, and then that's in turn affecting us. So something needs to be done.
Thank you so much. There was a comment in the chat that I want Rashawn to respond to if you so chooses. It says, I am learning to establish boundaries, but within that process, I'm also learning to stop moving my boundary line once it has been established. What would be your advice to this particular viewer?
I think it always goes back to the why. And I think that the one thing that we all keep skipping over tonight is the importance of reflection. Reflection, you got to consistently, you got to get quiet, and you got to be okay with silence, so that your inner voice can speak to you and tell you what you need to do and to reassess. So I think that we as Black men, a lot of times, because we're prisoners of our own thoughts, we're scared of getting silent. And so that tends to happen when boundaries moving and not lining how they should has to come with the fact that we're not still and we're not quiet. And that's something I struggle with. So sometimes I have to learn how to not to drive or do my 45-minute commute with no phone calls and no music, so that I can do that, so I can reflect. I did want to go back, touch back to something that one of the brothers said a little while ago, and that is the importance of your circle. The importance of your circle. Because if you're not careful, you'll find yourself being jealous of people you should be learning from. And so many of us, like for instance, and Thomas credits me for some things that he shouldn't. One of the things that he caught me in a good stage in life where I could impart, because I changed my circle. And when you start changing your circle to people you can actually learn and cross-pollinate from and grow with and get something from, then you stop being so competitive. and stop being a hater. And you start being around people that are not talking about other folk, but are talking about big ideas, and to start talking about strategies. Yes. And I mean, one of the people who I keep close to me is my brother. My brother a couple of years ago called me and said, "I'm going back to therapy, and you going too?" I said, "No, I'm not." He said, "Yeah, you're doing this." And because my brother has my influence, I was more open to it, and I was like, "Dang, this is exactly what I needed." But my question to you is, who are the 5 people who are speaking into you that are causing you not to establish good boundaries for those who are making you a victim?
John, anything that you want to say, brother?
I mean, what can I add? What can I add? That was a mic drop moment, man. That was honestly a mic drop moment. But no, I that piece about your circle is so very important, right? We have the tendency to, I think, and especially when it comes to understanding time and seasons, right? And we've all heard that there are folks that are in our lives for certain points at time, and then they're supposed to go. And sometimes we have an issue letting those folks go. Right? And it doesn't, again, it doesn't, like I said earlier, it doesn't have to be, all right, man, I'm dropping you, like, get away from me kind of thing. It just, sometimes it's one of those things where it's just gradual, right? It's a gradual refocus into where am I learning, who am I learning from, where am I spending the majority of my time? And then for this individual, you know, when I do see them, it's no love lost, it's no hurt, it's no offense, it's just the relationship has shifted and changed. And most times what we don't realize is that the relationship has shifted and changed because we've changed, and that is okay, right? If you stay in the same place forever, are you changing? Are you growing? Is there anything new that you can experience or seek out? No, it's like when I change and when I grow, the individuals that really truly care about me will celebrate me. And they will be there in the background, or they'll be there whatever new vantage point that they're in with me. They will be there cheering me on, right? And they're also going through their own transformation and their own change, and that is okay. So when we come to this idea of who our circles are, it's okay to, one, again, embrace those new individuals, the people I'm learning from, the people that are not just leeching on to me, and I got to make sure I'm not leeching on to them. Right? Learning and leeching are two different things, right? I want to learn from somebody, glean from their experience, but I'm not trying to leech on to their name or to their status. Those are two very, very different things we got to be careful of. But again, when it's time to let someone go, it's being okay with that and being able to say, I'm moving in a new direction in my life. They're probably moving in a new direction as well. And guess what? It's for the benefit of all of us.
Wow. Whew. We have reached the hour, and I'm literally sitting in here in awe. And I'm going to tell you why that I'm here in awe. There has been so much rich conversations that anyone who have watched the show or will watch the replay of the show can take away something from this panel. Ladies, you can also take some things away from this as you are understanding how we as men move, how we think as men. I just want to just say to this panel, everyone on this line today, I humbly respect you. That's one thing. Eugene Nickens said we need to have a part 2. I will have to talk to the panel about this to see if they will be available, but I'm definitely open to continue the conversation. Part 2 it is. Part 2 it is. But before we go, I want to say to Mr. Terrence, we met at a fraternity convention. We had no ties. I met you at the convention, and you haven't changed since I met you.
Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
It is a great thing, because sometimes we meet people and they are not authentically who they are. And you have been authentically who you are. And I want to say to you, I appreciate you for everything that you're doing. And I'm glad to see that you are a fellow mental health counselor and you are not ashamed to walk boldly in who you are. So I thank you. To my boy that's in the office here at Limitless Possibilities, let me tell y'all something about Herman. Herman is one of my low-key, never mind, We recorded. He's one of my low-key favorite therapists because he keeps me on my toes. Herman keeps me on my toes on so many different levels, but the relationship that we have is real. And I wanted to bring people on here at the office and here interacting with clients that are authentically who they are, have aspirations, have goals, and Herman is that perfect person that can let anyone know you don't have to be what you once were. And this young man emulates it. He walks it. He's bold. And I'm proud to say I'm proud to have him on my team as a licensed Black man therapist that has a GPA higher than that 1.1 when he was in high school. You all are looking at witnesses here. To my boy, Brashawn. Brashawn, you are a minister. You are a pastor, but you are also a person that can operate outside of that role. And I want to say to you, never lose who you are. You have a gift, you have a book, you have a mission. And your mission will continue to extend outside of the church walls and into the communities, into us as Black men. Thank you so much for empowering us within and outside of your role. Thank you, brother. Justin and I used to work together at a job at a charter school. And one thing that I can tell you, I was super excited when he gave his testimony today. You have to learn Justin. Justin is a quiet person. I call him a silent killer. He does a lot of observations. He doesn't speak a lot. But when he speaks certain things and when he speaks from his heart, he speaks truth. Justin, never lose that, brother. Never lose that. Damil. I don't understand how I'm ever going to get Damil from Sean. It is what it is because I knew him as Sean, but he converted and hey, I support him. What I love about Sean Damil is that he never allowed any obstacle, any barriers, any mountains to keep him in bondage. This brother is free. I've never heard him talk about the love of his life as much as I heard him. He is now walking boldly in who he is. Sometimes, viewers, we got to take a step outside of our comfort zone and connect ourselves and align ourselves to people that want to see us go up, but not stay there. So, Damil, never lose that. John. John is my mentor. John is my encourager. John is someone that holds me accountable. All of you all do, actually. But John is like one of my spiritual persons that I go to for thoughts about things that I'm making moves on. And you have never left me or led me wrong. Brother, I love you to death. I love all of you all. All of you all are important to me. And the reason why I wanted to have this panel, because each and every one of you on this line, and this is no lie, have inspired me, have encouraged me, have lifted me up, have held me accountable. And this is what I wanted this show to do, is emulate this to the world, that we too as Black men can hold each other accountable, provide resources for each other, not be in competition with one another, and lastly, be simply who we are. Mm-hmm. We all are doing it. Thank you all so much for tonight. We will have a part 2, and we will continue this discussion. To our viewing audience, we thank you so much. Thank you so much, and we'll catch you next time. Until then, peace out.
Thank you.
Peace.
Limitless. My heart vast in blackness, defined by our past, persevere through the obstacles, pain and our laughter, but let me get back to what matters. Cap up my brother, no reason to clap him. Uplift my kinfolk, we shooting for Saturn. No one left behind when we climbing this ladder. My skin and the joy make them 1% matter. That fact that the matter. Open your eyes when you look at the mirror and see what I see. Feel all the power that lies within thee. Black kings and queens who we will and shall be. Know that we bleed and breathe royalty. Love with the loyalty glow got me loving myself. Black skin my cover is hugging myself. Live for the mental and spiritual, but remember we limitless. DNA royal, not menaces. Know that we limitless. Brothers and sisters in arms, know the power be